Hello, my name is Todd Johnson, and this presentation is entitled 80 Lakes, the Duration of Decay. It attempts to answer the following research question. How does analog film materially interact with elements of environmental phenomena? And can such inscriptions, entanglements, and accidents produce new qualities of photography itself? To answer this question, this presentation necessarily considers and puts to the test a materialist form of photographic production as the primary mode of inquiry. I'd like to start this presentation by drawing on the photography theorist and philosopher Willem Flusser. For Flusser, the camera is an apparatus that distances human control by removing a certain level of the operator's involvement. According to Flusser, and I'm paraphrasing here, we've become accustomed to the camera apparatus controlling our movements. It passes through our eyes and our consciousness without being noticed. This is an illusion of freedom, a subliminal programming of ritualistic automatic actions. In the digital age, this has become especially prevalent, as most digital cameras merely require you to turn it on and press the shutter to record a photograph. And this loss of control isn't exactly new. I'm reminded of the famous Kodak slogan from 1888, "You press the button, we do the rest." However, it's become so refined that knowledge of the technical, mechanical, and algorithmic components are abandoned as the camera apparatus determines one's decisions through its internally hidden and complex program. Flusser goes on to offer a solution to the camera's controlling determinism by stating the so-called experimental photographers, those photographers in the sense of the word intended here, they are conscious that image, apparatus, program, and information are the basic problems that they have to come to terms with. They are consciously attempting to create unpredictable information, i.e. to release themselves from the camera and to place within the image something that is not in its program. And this last line that Flusser writes, to place within the image something that's not in its program, seems to acutely correspond to the processes involved in the production of my own photographic practice, where I consciously attempt to produce unpredictable information by handing over agency of the photographic process to elements of the environment. The photographic images I present here were produced over a period of approximately 2 years, taken from numerous Australian landscapes and aquatic ecosystems from various parts of regional Victoria, Tasmania, New South Wales, and Queensland. Once developed, I collected the film from the lab and then returned to the discrete location where the photograph was originally captured to submerge the film in the water itself for periods of up to 2 months. Gradually, the film becomes malleable as the color layers are stripped away and the minerals, bacteria, and pollution of the water slowly disintegrated the medium into an unpredictable abstraction of color, texture, and form. After the film is left outside to dry, bacteria continue to eat away the image into material abstraction, demolishing the pictorial and freeing the photo object from the burden of depiction. The film testifies the continual interaction between the light-sensitive substrate on the one hand and elements of insects, bacteria, pollution, minerals, soil, and water residue from the environment of the other. These vital material agents continue to inflect the image well beyond the point of capture. The sense of decay, deterioration, and neglect of the landscape, many of which I documented at the site of recently affected bushfires, interacts with the film itself, which is in a state of decay and deterioration well after it has been developed, but also slide film more specifically, having been largely discontinued, is viewed by many as an obsolete medium. So there is a tripartite connection here between the fragility and decay and obsolescence of the film image, analog technology, and landscape itself in an age of environmental instability. So there's a sense of violence or destruction happening to the film object, which is reflected in the landscape itself, devastated by anthropocentric climate change, resulting in drought, extreme temperature fluctuations, but also the quality of the water and the aquatic ecosystem, fisheries, human communities. So there's a real kind of knock-on effect. This continual process of unfolding may be referred to as intra-action, whereby bodies and environments are integral parts of or dynamic reconfigurings of what is. According to Karen Barad, agential realism is a concept that argues matter is dynamic and shifting entanglement of relations rather than as a property of things. Barrett identifies interaction as an aspect of agential realism that revises how causality may be conceived, given distinct agencies do not proceed, but rather emerge through their interaction. This is a particularly useful concept as it can be applied to the complex fields of agency and index as they relate specifically to my own photographic practice. These material interactions emerge through collaboration with place and film by allowing elements of the environment to more overtly steer the photographic process. This technique decisively breaks with conceived conventions of picture taking and is more appropriate to suggest these filmic objects were produced through a continual process of material making and unfolding. Photography is usually thought of as a process that aims to produce a final fixed image, be it a photographic print or an image to be viewed on a screen. However, with my photographic process, I have sought to show what lies beyond the idea of photography as seen from the viewpoint of this final result, and to encourage one to think about photography as something more fluid and unstable. And so it's not so much of an instantaneous moment, rather than a continuous unfolding event or performance on top of and through the photographic emulsion, as it is projected and viewed as a slide. And as these photographs change and mutate over time, we start to see elements of the environment as not something that has been added to the photographs, but rather something that is growing from them and emanating from them to produce a new phase in the ontology of the photographic image. An underlying symptom of the way we read photographic surfaces can be traced to the concept of the indexical. The indexical is a term applied to photography that denotes the way in which a photograph functions as a pointer. In the 1860s, Charles Sanders Peirce developed a theory of signs that productively explains how we read photographs in relation to other image types. According to Peirce, photographs can be classified as a form of indexical sign as they were produced in direct contact with what they recorded and were therefore always evidence of the thing depicted. Peirce compared the presence of indexes found in nature to the way photographs point to the existence of the subject they depict. According to Peirce, an index is not the mere resemblance of its object, but the actual modification of it by the object. In justifying why he regarded photographs to have indexical qualities, Peirce wrote, "Photographs are very instructive because we know that they are in certain respects exactly like the objects they represent. But this resemblance is due to the photographs having been produced under such circumstances that they were physically forced to correspond point by point to nature. In that aspect, they belong to the second class of sign, those formed by physical connection." Peirce's indexicality is crucial to materialist understanding of photography because he identifies it to be a physical connection, but also locates it happening within nature, which is crucial to understanding the material interactions that inflect my own photographic work and the work of other filmic artists in this regard. My own photographs testify as indexical links to a reality that is doubly inflected, as the landscape is registered on both a visual and a physical level. One index of the environment is recorded on top of another, almost a way as of declaring the first obsolescent, a palimpsest that allows both representations to be visible and obscured simultaneously. What initially looks like a return to formalist abstraction actually coexists with questions about what these light flecks and material traces actually reveal, the film's origin, the conditions of its exposure, and this unique collaboration between the film, the landscape, and myself. And so under these conditions, film's indexical image, unlike digital information, offers guarantee of presence, that the object, material, or person was indeed there then, in the words of Roland Barthes. The surface of film may be viewed as a skin which envelops and preserves the memories and histories contained within. The photographic skin emerges from a complex series of interactions and is a site of continual flux, decomposing and reconfiguring. This sense of decomposition is amplified by the material specificity of film, its reaction to human touch, fingerprints, scratching, environmental factors such as heat, moisture, the weather, duration of time, oxidation, decay, and the irretrievable loss of the photographic image itself. Such material interactions that inflect the photographic object I consider as part of the event of materialist photography. Whether deliberately obliterated by the photographic artist or gradually decomposed by time's relentless melt, the film photograph testifies its own physical breakdown and ensuing death as it inevitably becomes swiftly outmoded by digital technologies. Photography has undergone a period of intense dematerialization over the last 150 years, and despite the flux of contemporary research on the materiality of digital photographs, the use of film as a material used for photographic capture remains an important and viable medium for its unique indexical, auratic, and physical presence. As digital continually threatens to engulf film and commerce through its relative ease of capture, dissemination, and what Marianne Doan has described as a persistent dream of immateriality, it's important to investigate the medium in relation to the past and the present. The use of materialist imaging techniques in my own practice, where the material evolution of the photograph is at the core of image making rather than being seen and deployed as some detached and clinical platform, aims to not only respond to digital's frozen perfection by leaving in film's flecks, speckles of dust, bacteria, and other optical aberrations that continue to act upon film well after the initial exposure, but also foregrounding the traditional photomechanical qualities of the medium to make an image. My practice-led research asks, how might the inherent qualities of the materials and their chemistry remake photography? And how can we rethink the material form in the digital age, pressing us to rethink both? In conclusion, the physical materiality of the photograph remains present in the making of photographic art. These photographic transparencies can be studied as records of an indexical relationship between elements of the environment, photographic emulsion. By allowing objects, materials, and live creatures to directly inscribe the photographic emulsion, elements of the environment are able to create unpredictable information and co-author the photographic process. By relinquishing control of the camera, I re-examine the question of agency from the perspective of all constituent parties that comprise the photographic image. Agency is a complex process, especially given in the photographic act, it's no longer possible to entirely disentangle one from the other. Subject and object coalesce to form a single photo object and is indistinguishable facets of a material process. The photograph is thus presented as a register of natural events, chance processes, and accidents. In the digital age, attention to film's material specificity suggests a secure relationship between the artist and landscape in film. By collaborating with the natural environment, I'm able to document certain contingencies, irregularities, and unpredictable information which exist outside the confines of the camera apparatus. In this view, direct physical contact with film allows the surrounding environment to best translate its rich palette of complex textures, forms, and materiality. Thanks very much for listening.